I went to a big food convention the other day where they were talking about, it was the minister talking about this new policy, right? So they've got a business in. And some of it was Pepsi and Mars and whoever, and it was this Orwellian moment where you're like, oh really? These are the characters that are gonna solve the problem. And so I always bring up this question about processed and whole food. You know, and I always ask the question, how much processed food should your average 10-year-old eat? Government minister, what do you think? What's the recommendation? And they go, oh, well, we don't make that distinction. Like, you don't make the distinction between processed food and whole food? No. Like, well, certainly they should be 100%, right? Well, yeah. So how much should it be? But they're not, since they're taking so much advice from industry, which is essentially processed food, there is no one speaking for the whole other side of the argument. And so, I'm a crazy California hippie guy, as far as they're concerned. But now they have to pay attention because they can budget really well. But I think that's the fundamental shift. And in an era where information, you're going to find out anything about every product. What's true about food is you should mostly eat stuff that comes out of the ground. This idea of food innovation is a bit of an oxymoron. It's better than a banana. Grows out of the ground for free, biodegradable, tastes good, healthy. So this whole idea is, of course, anathema to the food industry. But even then the question comes on the food industry of, well, do you want to tear it down? Or do you want to fix it from the inside? Do you want them to get enlightened and see that, because they're only going to be motivated by profits, no matter what they say. Right? That's mostly what the food shareholder structure is. So if you say, well, whether you're philosophically for it or not, profits are towards healthy and natural. Evolve from the inside, or no, you guys are fundamentally flawed, we want to bring you down. But the likes of PepsiCo and Coke and those, they are everywhere. So one of these things, when you really see the scale of the food industry in terms of the global food industry, and then you say, great, how do you get everybody to eat more apples? It's pickle. And it really does start with this idea. That's why I think it has to be a worldview shift. Because then your common sense changes, and then you just don't look at it. But the challenge is how do you get that worldview shift? Although it's speeding up, because you can't butt against nature indefinitely, and you can't kick the can down the road everywhere. And I think this is the first generation that's starting to realize, oh, if it goes bad, it's going to happen on our watch.
Love is my energy, got so much more than I ever dreamed of. Thanks synchronicity, rainbow connections unseen.